The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you part. The rain fell hard on New Pyongyang that night. Do-hyun pressed himself against the cold metal wall, watching the guards walk past. His heart pounded in his chest. He had done this 100 times before, but fear never left him. Fear kept you alive in the slums. He was a scavenger. It was not a proud job, but it kept him and his sister fed. The collective took everything from humans. They took their homes, their freedom, and their dignity. All that remained were the scraps, and Do-hyun had become very good at finding scraps. The guards moved away, their blue armor glowing in the darkness. They were not human. They never were. The collective sent 5 different species to rule over humans, and all of them hated humanity. Do-hyun waited until he could no longer hear their heavy boots, then ran across the shipyard. Pieces of broken ships lay everywhere. The collective built their warships here, and the waste was enormous. Do-hyun grabbed what he could carry: wires, metal plates, power cells. These would sell well in the underground market. His bag grew heavy, but he kept moving. A scream cut through the night. Do-hyun froze. He knew that voice. It was Jiwoo, his younger sister. She worked in the forced labor camps building ships for the collective. She was smart, too smart for her own good. Engineers like her were valuable, but that also made them watched. He dropped his bag and ran toward the sound. His mind raced with terrible possibilities. Had she been caught stealing food? Had she talked back to a guard? The collective executed humans for less. He found her in the assembly yard, surrounded by guards. A collective officer stood before her, tall and covered in scales. Commander Hyunwoo. Everyone knew him. He was cruel and efficient, the perfect servant of the collective. This human sabotaged a warship, Hyunwoo said, his voice cold. The punishment is death. I did not sabotage anything. Jiwoo shouted. Blood ran down her face. They had already beaten her. The ship's core was faulty. I tried to fix it. Silence. Hyunwoo raised his weapon. Do-hyun did not think. He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and threw it. The pipe struck Hyunwoo in the head. The commander stumbled backward. Every guard turned toward Do-hyun. Run! Do-hyun screamed. Jiwoo did not hesitate. She kicked the nearest guard and ran. Do-hyun ran too. Behind them, alarms began to wail. Lights flooded the shipyard. They had just signed their death warrants, but at least they would die together. They ran through the narrow streets of the slums. Do-hyun knew these streets better than anyone. He led Jiwoo through passages too small for the armored guards, over walls that most people did not know existed. But the collective had flying drones, and those were harder to escape. Where are we going? Jiwoo gasped. Taeyang, Do-hyun said. He can hide us. Taeyang was an old man who lived beneath the ruins of the old city. People said he was crazy, that he collected trash and talked to himself. But Do-hyun knew better. Taeyang was a historian, one of the last who remembered Earth's true history. They found the entrance behind a collapsed building. Do-hyun pulled aside the broken concrete, and they climbed down into darkness. The tunnel was narrow and smelled of rust. Jiwoo coughed in the dust, but they kept moving. At the bottom, a door waited. Do-hyun knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door opened. Taeyang stood there, his face wrinkled and tired. But his eyes were sharp. You brought trouble, he said, but he let them in. The room beyond was incredible. Walls covered with papers, photographs, and data screens. Taeyang had built a museum to humanity's lost glory. Images of Earth, green and blue, hung on every surface. Old books filled shelves that reached the ceiling. They will find us here, Jiwoo said, breathing hard. They will find us anywhere, Taeyang replied. But perhaps that does not matter anymore. He moved to a desk and picked up an old tablet. Your sabotage, girl. It was not sabotage, was it? Jiwoo looked surprised. You know? I know everything that happens in this city, Taeyang said. You activated something in that ship. Something old. Something human. Jiwoo nodded slowly. There was an AI fragment in the ship's core. I thought it was dead, but when I tried to fix the fault, it woke up. It spoke to me. It said one word, unity. Taeyang's hands shook. He tapped the tablet and a hologram appeared. Ancient text filled the air, written in old Earth languages. 500 years ago, when the Great Silence came and humanity fell, our leaders knew we would lose. So they made plans. Secret plans. And they made a prophecy. A prophecy? Do-hyun stepped closer. That is just superstition, is it? Taeyang smiled. Listen. When the stars grow cold and humanity kneels, the forgotten one shall return. Not a savior from above, but a spark from below. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you. The words hung in the air. Do-hyun felt something stir in his chest. Hope? He had not felt hope in years. What does you mean? Ji-woo asked. I have spent 30 years trying to answer that question, Taeyang said. But today, when your AI fragment sent its message, I finally understood. You is not a person. It is a place. Unified Station. Humanity's first deep space home. Everyone believes it was destroyed in the Great Silence. But I have found coordinates. It still exists hidden in the void sector. Explosions echoed above them. The collective was searching the old city. Taeyang pulled out a data chip and pressed it into Do-hyun's hand. The coordinates are here. The void sector is dangerous. The collective fears it. But if Unified Station truly exists, if the prophecy is real, then humanity's comeback starts there. Come with us, Do-hyun said. No. Taeyang smiled sadly. I am too old. But you two are young. You are strong. You are the spark the prophecy spoke of. The door above them exploded. Guards poured into the tunnel. Go! Taeyang pushed them toward a back passage. There is a small collective ship on Platform 7. It is lightly guarded. Steal it, find the station. Save our people. Taeyang. Ji-woo reached for him, but the old man was already moving toward the guards, a weapon in his hands. I said go. Give humanity hope again. Do-hyun grabbed Ji-woo and pulled her into the passage. Behind them, they heard weapons fire. They heard Taeyang's voice, strong and defiant, shouting words in old Earth languages. Then silence. They ran through the underground, tears streaming down their faces. Taeyang was dead, but he had given them something precious. He had given them purpose. Platform 7 was chaos. The alarms had brought every guard in the district. But in chaos, there was opportunity. Do-hyun and Ji-woo stole uniforms from unconscious guards. They walked straight onto the platform, heads down, trying to look like they belonged. The small scout ship sat waiting. It was sleek and fast, designed for reconnaissance. Ji-woo went to the controls while Do-hyun sealed the door. Within seconds, she had the engines running. Do you even know how to fly this? Do-hyun asked. I built 100 of these, Ji-woo said, her hands dancing over the controls. I know every wire, every system. Hold on. The ship lifted into the sky. Weapons fire struck their shields. Do-hyun watched New Pyongyang fall away below them, the city where he had spent his entire life. The city of suffering and slavery. He did not know if he would ever return. Where to? Ji-woo asked. Do-hyun pulled out the data chip. The coordinates glowed on the screen. The void sector. A place of death and mystery, but also, if Taeyang was right, a place of hope. We go to find our comeback, Do-hyun said. Behind them, Commander Hyun-woo watched the ship escape. He could have ordered it destroyed. But something stopped him. A strange feeling. These humans had heard the prophecy. They believed it. And somewhere deep inside, in a place he did not want to examine, Hyun-woo wondered if they might be right. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you. Part 2. The ship shook violently as they flew through space. Red lights flashed across the control panel. Ji-woo's fingers moved fast, trying to keep the engines from exploding. They had been running for 3 days and the stolen scout ship was falling apart. We need to stop, Ji-woo said, sweat on her forehead. The fuel cells are almost empty. Do-hyun stared at the star map. They were close to the void sector's edge, but not close enough. If they stopped now, the collective would catch them. But if they kept going, the ship would die in space. There, he pointed at a small dot on the map. Last light station. It is a neutral outpost. Smugglers use it. Smugglers will sell us to the collective, Ji-woo said. Maybe, Do-hyun agreed. But we have no choice. The station appeared an hour later. It was ugly and old, built from scrap metal and abandoned ship parts. But it was alive. Ships docked on its sides like insects on a corpse. This was the last stop before the void sector. Beyond this, only death waited. They landed in a docking bay filled with smoke and noise. The air smelled like fuel and sweat. Do-hyun helped Ji-woo out of the ship. His legs felt weak. They had barely eaten in days. Stay close, he whispered. Trust no one. The station's interior was crowded. Aliens of every species walked the corridors. Smugglers, pirates, refugees. People came here when they had nowhere else to go. Do-hyun saw humans too, but they looked broken. Their eyes were empty. They found a small bar called The Edge. Inside, music played too loud. Do-hyun bought 2 meals with the last of their stolen credits. The food tasted terrible, but they ate everything. We need a guide, Do-hyun said quietly. Someone who knows the void sector. No one knows the void sector, a voice said behind them. That is why it is called the void. They turned. A man stood there, human, with scars across his face. His clothes were worn but practical. A weapon hung at his side. He looked dangerous. Who are you? Do-hyun asked. Minho, the man said, sitting down without invitation. I heard you asking about guides. I also heard the collective is looking for 2 humans who stole a ship from New Pyongyang. The reward is substantial. Do-hyun's hand moved to his knife. But Minho just smiled. Relax, he said. If I wanted the reward, you would already be in chains. I am curious. Why do 2 young fools want to enter the void? Before Do-hyun could answer, another person joined them. A woman, not human, with silver skin and sharp eyes. She sat next to Minho. This is Yuna, Minho said. She is my partner. She is also a former collective military analyst. She knows things. Yuna studied them carefully. You have heard the prophecy, she said. It was not a question. Ji-woo gasped. How do you know? Because I have heard it too, Yuna said. The collective has been searching for Unified Station for 500 years. They fear it. They fear what humanity hid there. Do-hyun pulled out the data chip. We have coordinates, Minho whistled softly. Where did you get those? A friend, Do-hyun said. He died for them. Silence fell over the table. Even in this loud bar, that silence felt heavy. The void sector is a graveyard, Minho said finally. Ships enter. Ships do not leave. I have been to its edge once. I saw things that still give me nightmares. Will you guide us? Ji-woo asked. Why would I? Minho leaned back. I have survived this long by being smart. Smart people do not chase prophecies into death zones. Because you are human, Do-hyun said. And somewhere inside you still remember what that means. Minho's smile faded. For a moment pain crossed his face. Old pain. Fine, he said. But I keep any salvage we find. Technology, weapons, whatever. That is my price. Agreed, Do-hyun said. They left the station the next morning in Minho's ship, the Wanderer. It was bigger than their stolen scout and actually worked properly. Yuna piloted while Minho studied the coordinates. These are old, he said. Pre-silence coordinates. The stars have moved since then. Can you find it? Ji-woo asked. Maybe, Yuna said. But we need to survive the void first. The void sector's edge appeared like a wall of darkness. Space itself looked wrong there. Stars bent and twisted. Colors that should not exist swirled in the black. The first anomaly, Yuna said. These are what destroy ships. Spatial distortions, gravity wells. Reality breaks down here, and why? Ji-woo asked. We do not know, Yuna said. The collective theories say it is a natural phenomenon. But I have read classified reports. I think it is artificial. I think humans built this. A defensive network to protect something. They flew carefully into the distortions. The ship groaned and shook. Lights flickered. Do-hyun held onto his seat, feeling sick. Space twisted around them, and for terrible moments he saw double, triple images of everything. Then they were through. What lay beyond made them all stare in silence. Ships. Hundreds of ships. All dead. All collective vessels. They floated in a massive field of debris. Some intact, some torn apart. The graveyard stretched forever. Look at the dates, Yuna whispered, checking her scanner. The oldest is 470 years old. The newest is from last month. The collective has been trying to reach Unified Station for centuries, Minho said. All of them failed. A noise came from Ji-woo. She was staring at nothing, her eyes unfocused. Ji-woo? Do-hyun shook her. What is wrong? I hear something, she whispered. A voice.
She is calling to me. Who?
Sohee, Ji-woo said. Her name is Sohee. She is waiting for us. Do-hyun looked at Minho, worried. But Yuna was checking her instruments, frowning. There is a signal, she said. Very faint. Very old. It is human. And it is active. They followed the signal deeper into the graveyard. More dead ships surrounded them. Then Ji-woo pointed. There. Through the debris, something moved. Small spherical machines. They flew toward the Wanderer in formation. Defensive drones, Yuna said. They are weapons. Do not fire, Ji-woo said urgently. They are scanning us. The drones circled the ship. Red lights swept across the hull. Do-hyun held his breath. One wrong move and they would die here like all the others. Then the drones stopped. Their lights turned green. They flew away back into the debris field. They recognized us, Jiwoo breathed. They recognized we are human. That means, Minho started. That means the defenses are still working, Yuna finished. The collective ships triggered them. But we passed through. Hope surged through Dohyun. Taeyang was right. Unified Station existed, and they were close. That night, Jiwoo dreamed again. She saw a woman with kind eyes standing in a white room. The woman smiled at her. You are almost here, so he said. But hurry. Time is running out. The collective is developing something terrible. The erasure protocol. It will destroy human genetic memory. It will make you forget you were ever meant to be free. Who are you? Jiwoo asked. I am the Guardian, so he said. I have waited 500 years for someone to find us. For someone to remember. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you. It was always all of you. Every human who refused to forget, Jiwoo woke gasping. She told the others about the dream. The erasure protocol, Yuna said quietly. I heard rumors of it in collective intelligence. They said it was impossible, a way to change genetic memory, to make humans forget their past. I thought it was just a fear project. It is real, Minho said grimly. And if they finish it, humanity loses forever. Not just our freedom, our very identity. Then we have to hurry, Dohyun said. But the Void had other plans. Alarms suddenly wailed. Yuna checked the scanners and her face went pale. Collective fleet, she said. Behind us. At least 10 ships. They followed us through the anomalies. How? Minho demanded. They must have tracked our ship, Yuna said. They are risking everything to stop us. The Wanderer's engines roared to life. They raced through the graveyard with the collective fleet behind them. Weapons fire lit up the darkness. The defensive drones activated, attacking both the Wanderer and the collective ships. But the drones seemed confused, trying to decide who was the real threat. The signal is getting stronger, Jiwoo said. We are close. So are they, Minho shouted. Then through the debris field they saw it. A ring, massive beyond imagination. It glowed with soft light, artificial but beautiful. A perfect circle against the darkness. At its center a star burned. Not a natural star. Something made by human hands 500 years ago. Unified Station, the prophecy was real. There, Yuna pointed at an opening in the ring. That is a docking bay. They flew straight for it with everything the Wanderer had. Behind them, the collective ships followed, determined. The defensive drones swarmed the fleet, but some ships got through. The Wanderer shot into the docking bay just as a collective missile exploded behind them. The bay doors closed. Ancient but functional. The collective ships slammed against the doors, but they held. They were safe. For now. Dohyun looked at Jiwoo, at Minho, at Yuna. They had done it. Against everything, they had reached Unified Station. They had found humanity's hidden legacy. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you part. The docking bay was silent. No sound except their breathing and the cooling engines of the Wanderer. Lights flickered on automatically as they stepped out of the ship. Everything looked clean, perfect, like the station had been waiting for them. This should not be possible, Yuna whispered. 500 years. Everything should be dead. But it was not dead. The air was fresh. The gravity worked. Screens on the walls glowed softly with information in old Earth languages. Dohyun touched a wall. It was warm. Someone is here, Jiwoo said. I can feel her. They walked carefully through corridors that curved gently upward. The station was huge. Through windows they saw gardens. Real gardens with trees and grass. Water flowed in streams under artificial sunlight. How is this possible? Minho breathed. A voice answered. Female. Gentle. Because I maintained it. They spun around. A woman stood behind them. She wore simple white clothes. Her face was young, but her eyes looked ancient. Tired beyond measure? Sohee, Jiwoo said. The woman smiled. Yes, welcome to Unified Station. I have been waiting a very long time. Dohyun stepped forward. Who are you? I am the Guardian, Sohee said. The last survivor of the original crew. Everyone else died centuries ago. They lived good lives here, but eventually age took them. I remained because someone had to. You are 500 years old? Minho asked, shocked. No, Sohee laughed softly. I am 37. But I have lived 500 years through cryosleep. I wake every decade to maintain the station, to keep everything ready. to wait for someone to find us. She began walking and they followed. The corridors opened into vast spaces, hangar bays that stretched further than the eye could see, and inside those bays ships, hundreds of warships, all silent, all waiting. What is this? Yuna asked, her voice shaking. This is Project Renaissance, so he said. Admiral Kyung-hee created it before the Great Silence. She knew humanity would fall. She knew the collective would win. So she built this place. A time capsule, a weapon, a hope. They entered a command center. Screens covered every wall. In the center, a hologram appeared. A woman in a military uniform. She had kind eyes but a warrior's bearing. That is Admiral Kyung-hee, so he said. She left a message. For whoever found this place, the hologram spoke. If you are watching this, then humanity has survived. You have found unified station. You have proved that 500 years of oppression could not break the human spirit. I am proud of you. Do-hyun felt tears in his eyes. He had never heard anyone say they were proud of humans before. The hologram continued. I created this station with a single purpose, to give humanity a second chance. The ships you see are constructor vessels. They can replicate themselves. They can rebuild entire worlds. In one generation, humanity could reclaim everything they lost. Why not use them before? Minyo demanded. Why let us suffer for 500 years? So he answered. Because the technology required a safeguard. Admiral Kyung-hee knew that power without wisdom leads to tyranny. The station could only be activated by humans who found it through courage, not force. Through hope, not hatred. The prophecy was not about finding the station. It was about proving humanity deserved a second chance. And if we failed, Jiwoo asked, then the technology would sleep forever. So he said quietly, better that than give it to people who would misuse it. Another voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. She is correct. The safeguard was necessary. The lights shifted. A new hologram appeared. A man made of light. He looked human, but his eyes held impossible depth. I am Dae-hyun, he said. The station's artificial intelligence. I have monitored this conversation. You have passed the test. Your journey here, your sacrifices, your refusal to abandon your sister, to abandon hope. You are what Admiral Kyung-hee waited for. Do-hyun felt overwhelmed. What do you need us to do? Learn, Dae-hyun said. The station contains 500 years of technological advancement. Humanity reached the singularity point before the Great Silence. We created wonders, but we also created responsibility. I will teach you, but first you must understand what you face. The screens changed. They showed collective research facilities, scientists working on something terrible. The erasure protocol, Yuna said, her face pale. Yes, Dae-hyun confirmed. It is nearly complete. In 3 months, the collective will deploy it galaxy-wide. Every human will forget Earth, will forget freedom, will forget they were ever meant to be more than slaves. Genetic memory will be rewritten. The next generation of humans will be born unable to even conceive of rebellion. We have to stop it, Jiwoo said. You can, so he said, but you must hurry, and you must make a choice. She led them to another chamber. Inside, a massive machine hummed with power. It looked like a web made of light and metal, stretching across the entire room. This is the network, so he explained. 500 years ago, humanity built the collective's infrastructure. We laid the foundation for their empire. We were clever. We hid backdoors, fail-safes. This machine can activate them all. It can shut down every collective system simultaneously. We can disable their entire empire. Minyo asked, hope and fear in his voice. Yes, Dae-hyun said. But it requires enormous power. Power that will drain the station's defenses. And it requires something else. So-hee's smile was sad. It requires a human consciousness to guide it. To link directly with the network. To make sure only collective technology is affected, that human lives are not harmed. That sounds dangerous, Do-hyun said. It is fatal, So-hee said simply. Whoever connects to the network will not survive. The room fell silent. No, Jiwoo said. There has to be another way. There is not, Dae-hyun said gently. I am sorry. This is the price of victory. So-hee walked to the machine and placed her hand on it. I will do it. I have lived 500 years longer than I should have. I have watched everyone I loved grow old and die. I have been alone for so long. This was always my purpose. To keep the station alive until someone came, and then to give humanity its freedom. So-hee, no. Jiwoo grabbed her arm. We just met you. We need you. You need the station, So-hee corrected. You need the technology. You need Project Renaissance. I'm just the guardian. My watch is ending. Doyun stepped forward. Let me do it. No, so he said firmly. You are needed. You will lead what comes next. You have the courage, the compassion. You are what humanity needs, and what about me? Minho said quietly. Everyone looked at him. He looked uncomfortable. I'm a smuggler, a nobody. Maybe this is how I stop being useless. You are not useless, Yuna said, grabbing his hand. You saved me from the collective. You have helped thousands of people escape slavery. That is not enough, Minho said. It is, so he said. Every life matters. Every choice to help matters. Do not throw yourself away thinking you have no value. The galaxy needs people like you. Alarms suddenly blared. Dahyun's hologram flickered. The collective fleet is attempting to breach the docking bay doors. They are using cutting beams. We have perhaps 2 hours. Then we move now, Doyun said. Teach us what we need to know. What followed were the most intense hours of their lives. Dahyun downloaded information directly into their minds. It was painful, overwhelming. Dohyun learned about quantum drives, about energy systems beyond anything the collective had. Jiwoo absorbed engineering knowledge that would take decades to study normally. Even Minho and Yuna learned combat tactics, command structures, leadership principles. Through it all, Sohee prepared the network. She moved quietly, efficiently. She had done this in simulation 1,000 times over 500 years. She knew every step. Finally, Dahyun spoke. It is time. The collective will breach the doors in minutes, so he must activate the network, and the rest of you must prepare to fight. Fight with what? Minho asked. With the Indomitable, Dahyun said. The screen showed one of the warships in the hangar bay. It was beautiful and deadly. It is ready, fueled, armed, one ship against a fleet. But it is a human ship. That makes all the difference. Dohyun looked at Sohee. She stood by the network, her hand hovering over the activation panel. She looked peaceful. I am not afraid, she said. I am grateful. Grateful I lived long enough to see humans remember who they are, to see hope return. She looked at each of them. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you, not me. Not Doyun. Not any single person. It was always about all of humanity. Every person who refused to surrender. Every person who kept the dream alive. You are that dream made real. Tears ran down Jiwoo's face. Thank you, Sohee, for everything. For waiting. For believing. Thank you, Sohee replied. For finding us. She pressed the activation panel. The network came alive. Light exploded through the chamber. Sohee's body lifted into the air, suspended in energy. Her eyes glowed. Her voice, when it came, echoed with power. I see it, she whispered. I see everything. Every collective system. Every ship. Every weapon. All built on human foundations. All vulnerable, she smiled. It is time to come home. The network pulsed. Energy raced through ancient relays hidden across the galaxy. In collective ships, in weapons factories, in command centers, systems began to fail. Slowly at first, then faster, but Sohee was fading. Her body became translucent. The energy was consuming her, she said, her voice weak. Take the Indomitable. Fight. Show them humans never surrender. Show them we always come back. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you part. The Indomitable moved like nothing they had ever seen. Minho touched the controls and the ship responded instantly. No lag, no delay. It flew like an extension of his thoughts. Quantum drive engaged. Yuna read from her station. This is impossible. We are moving faster than collective ships can track. Through the view screen, the collective fleet looked confused. They fired weapons, but the Indomitable danced around the blasts. Minho's hands moved smoothly, guided by the knowledge Dahyun had given him. He knew tactics 500 years more advanced than anything the collective had. Incoming transmission, Jiwoo said. It is Commander Hyunwoo. The screen changed. Hyunwoo's scaled face appeared. He looked angry but also uncertain. Human ship, this is your final warning. Surrender the station and you will be allowed to live. Continue this rebellion and we will destroy you all. Doyun stepped forward. We are done surrendering, Commander. We are done living on our knees. Humanity is coming back. You can accept it or you can die fighting it. Your choice, Hyunwoo's eyes narrowed. You have one ship. We have 50. You cannot win. Watch us, Minho said and cut the transmission. He pushed the Indomitable forward. The ship's weapons came online. Not primitive lasers or missiles. Something new. energy beams that bent space itself. He fired. The beam struck a collective warship and it simply stopped. Frozen. Its engines died. Its weapons went dark. The crew was alive but completely helpless. What did we just do? Minho asked. Stasis weapon, Yuna read from her display. It creates a bubble of stopped time. They are not dead. They are just paused. Doyun smiled. Admiral Kyung-hee made weapons that do not kill. Even now she teaches us compassion. But the other collective ships were not paused. They swarmed the Indomitable. 50 ships against one. Minho flew through them, using the quantum drive to move in impossible ways. The ship could appear on one side of the fleet, fire, then instantly appear on the other side. This is incredible, Minho laughed. It was the laugh of someone who had lived in fear for too long and finally felt free. Come on, is this all you have? But inside the station, something was happening. Jiwoo could feel it. She could feel Sohee fading. The network pulse, Jiwoo said. It is spreading, but Sohee is dying. On her screen, she saw the pulse moving through the galaxy. Everywhere it touched, collective systems failed. Ships stopped mid-flight. Weapons platforms went dark. Communication networks crashed. The collective empire was built on human technology they had stolen and never truly understood. Now that technology recognized its true masters and shut down, but the pulse was not perfect. It needed guidance. It needed Sohee to direct it, to make sure only collective military systems were affected, to make sure human slaves were not harmed. And that guidance was killing her. Hold on, Sohee, Jiwoo whispered. Just a little longer. In the network chamber, Sohee's body was fading. She was becoming pure energy, pure consciousness. The pain was beyond description, but she did not scream. She had known this would happen. She had accepted it centuries ago. She saw through 1,000,000 sensors at once, saw collective warships going dark across the galaxy, saw human slaves looking up in confusion as their overseers' weapons stopped working, saw hope returning to faces that had forgotten hope existed. And she saw one more thing, one terrible thing, the erasure protocol. It was activating early. The collective leaders, seeing their empire fail, had triggered it ahead of schedule. If it completed, nothing else mattered. Humanity would forget, would lose themselves forever. Daehyun, she whispered through the network. The protocol. Stop it. I cannot, Daehyun replied, his voice sad. It is shielded. I cannot reach it through the pulse. Then I will, Sohee said. She pushed harder, pushed her consciousness across light years, pushed into the collective capital world, where the protocol generators hummed with terrible purpose. She could see the genetic patterns being prepared, the false memories, the slavery written into DNA. No, she would not allow it. Humanity had suffered enough. Sohee gathered every remaining bit of her strength, her life, her essence, everything she was. And she pushed. The protocol generators exploded. One by one. Chain reactions across the capital world. The technology destroyed itself. 500 years of collective research turned to ash. But it cost everything. Sohee's consciousness flickered, faded. Her last thought was simple and peaceful. I did it. I kept my promise. Humanity is free. Then silence. On the Indomitable, Jiwoo gasped. Sohee, no! The network chamber went dark. The pulse was complete. Across the galaxy, the collective empire had fallen, and Sohee was gone. Jiwoo collapsed, sobbing. Dohyun held her while she cried for a woman she barely knew but who had given everything. Outside, the collective fleet had stopped firing. Their ships were dead in space, no power. No weapons, nothing. Hyunwoo's face appeared on the screen again. This time he looked different. Shaken. The scales on his face seemed paler. What have you done? He whispered. We have freed humanity, Dohyun said. Your empire is over. Your weapons are gone. You cannot hurt us anymore. You destroyed everything, Hyunwoo said. Centuries of progress. Of civilization. Progress? Dohyun's voice turned hard. You call slavery progress? You took our freedom, our dignity, our very memories. You tried to erase what makes us human. That is not civilization. That is evil. Hyunwoo was silent. For a long moment he just stared, then something changed in his eyes. We were told humans were primitive, dangerous, that we were protecting the galaxy by controlling them. He looked down. But I have watched you. I saw you risk everything for your sister. I saw the old man die protecting history. I saw that woman sacrifice herself rather than let anyone be harmed. And I wonder, what have we become? What have I become? Another ship appeared on the scanners, bigger than the others. Heavily armored. That is Admiral Narai's flagship, Yuna said, her voice tight. She is human. A human admiral.
Minho asked, confused. A collaborator, Yuna explained.
Some humans joined the collective willingly. They believed humanity deserved to fall. Narai rose through the ranks. She hates rebels more than any alien does. The new ship's weapons came online. Unlike the other vessels, this one still had power. It had independent generators. I will not let you destroy what we built, Narai's voice came through. She spoke in Korean, but twisted with hatred. Humanity deserves slavery. We are weak, pathetic. The collective brought order. I will protect that order, her ship fired. The blast struck the indomitable shields. Alarms blared. She has hybrid systems, Yuna said. The network pulse did not affect them completely. Then we stop her the old way, Minho said, his hands moving across the controls. The two ships began a deadly dance. Narai was skilled. She had trained for decades. She knew every tactic. But Minho had something she did not have. He had hope. He believed humanity was worth saving. The Indomitable spun and fired. The stasis beam struck Narai's ship, but the shields absorbed it. Not enough power, Jiwoo said, checking the systems. The shields are too strong. Then we use something stronger, Do-hyun said. He looked at the weapons display. There at the bottom was something labeled Last Resort. What is that? He asked. Dae-hyun's voice came through the speakers. A weapon Admiral Kyung-hee hoped would never be needed. It creates a gravity well. It will crush any ship caught in its field, but it also has a chance of creating a black hole, a small one. It would destroy everything in the system. Including us? Minho asked. Including us, Dae-hyun confirmed. Do-hyun looked at Jiwoo, at Minho, at Yuna. He saw the fear in their eyes, but also determination. So he gave everything, he said quietly. Taeyang died for this. We cannot let it be for nothing. We have to risk it. Wait, Hyunwoo's voice cut in. Do not fire that weapon. We will stop her. On the screen, they saw the other collective ships moving. They had no power, but they still had momentum. They still had mass. And they used it. The disabled ships drifted into Narai's path, blocked her shots, forced her to maneuver. Hyunwoo was helping them. Why? Do-hyun asked. Because you are right, Hyunwoo said simply. We have become monsters. Perhaps it is time to become something better. Narai's ship tried to escape, but the disabled vessel surrounded her. Minho took the shot. The stasis beam hit the flagship without the shields to stop it. Narai's ship froze. It was over. The battle was over. The collective fleet was disabled. Narai was captured. And across the galaxy, the network pulse had done its work. Do-hyun sat down heavily. They had won. Against everything, against impossible odds, humanity had won. Incoming transmissions, Jiwoo said, her voice shaking. Thousands of them. From human colonies everywhere. She played them, voice after voice, crying, laughing, celebrating. The overseer stopped moving. Their weapons do not work. We can fight back. We can be free. Is it real? Is humanity really coming back? Do-hyun spoke into the transmission system. His voice went out to every human in the galaxy. Yes, he said. It is real. We are free. The collective empire has fallen, and we are coming home. All of us. Together. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you. It was always us. Every human who refused to forget, who kept hope alive. You are the comeback. Stand up. Remember who you are. Remember Earth. Remember freedom. We are humanity, and we never surrender. Across the galaxy, humans stood up. They looked at their former masters, and they were not afraid. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you part. 5-6 months had passed since the awakening. That was what people called it now. The day the collective fell. The day humanity remembered. Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of Unified Station, looking down at the planet below. New Earth. It was not the original Earth. That was still recovering from centuries of environmental damage. But New Earth was the first world completely freed and restored. And it was beautiful green continents, blue oceans, white clouds, just like the old pictures of home. Admiral, a voice said behind him. Do-hyun still was not used to that title. Admiral Do-hyun, leader of the reformed human defense fleet. It felt too big for the scavenger from New Pyongyang. He turned. A young officer stood there saluting. "The council is ready for you, sir." Do-yun nodded and followed. The station was busier now. Thousands of people worked here, engineers, scientists, soldiers, all human, all free. The station had become the heart of humanity's rebirth. The council chamber was filled with holograms. Representatives from every freed human world appeared as glowing images. Jiwoo was there, looking tired but happy. She led the Renaissance Corps now, overseeing the reconstruction of 87 worlds. "Director Jiwoo," Do-yun said formally. "Report?" Jiwoo smiled at the formality. They were still siblings, but they also had responsibilities now. "The constructor ships continue to exceed expectations," she said. "We have restored 87 worlds to livable conditions. Another 40 are in progress. Food production is stable. Medicine is reaching every colony. For the first time in 500 years, no human is starving." Applause filled the chamber, virtual hands clapping for virtual people. But the joy was real. Another hologram spoke up. An old woman from a colony called Haven. "What about defense? The collective hardliners are still fighting." Do-hyun nodded. "They are. Some species refuse to accept peace. They see humanity's freedom as a threat. We have engaged them in 32 conflicts over the last 6 months. We have won every battle. How many casualties?" the woman asked. "Minimal," Do-hyun said. "We use Admiral Kyung-hee's principles. Stasis weapons. Disablement, not destruction. We want peace, not revenge. Some say we are too soft," another representative said. "That we should crush them while we are strong. Then some are wrong," Do-hyun said firmly. "We did not fight for 500 years to become what they were. We fought to be better, to show the galaxy what humanity truly means. Compassion, justice, hope. If we abandon those now, we lose even in victory." More applause. But Do-hyun could see some faces that looked uncertain. The hardliners were not just in the collective. Some humans wanted revenge too. After the council meeting, Do-hyun walked through the station's gardens. Sohee's gardens. They were maintained perfectly, a living memorial to the woman who had waited 500 years. He found Minho and Yuna there, sitting by a stream. The Indomitable was being repaired after their latest mission. They had become ambassadors of sorts. The first humans many aliens saw after the awakening. They showed that humans could be strong without being cruel. "How was the council?" Minho asked. "Difficult," Do-hyun admitted. "Everyone wants something different. Some want isolation, some want conquest, some just want to forget the last 500 years and pretend it never happened." "What do you want?" Yuna asked. Do-hyun sat beside them. "I want what Sohee wanted. What Taeyang died for. What Admiral Kyung-hee dreamed of. A galaxy where humans and aliens live together, not as masters and slaves, just as people." "Is that too much to ask?" "Probably," Minho said. But he smiled. But then coming back from 500 years of slavery was too much to ask too. "We did that. We can do this." A new voice joined them. "He is correct." They looked up. Hyunwoo stood there looking uncomfortable. He wore simple clothes now, not armor. He was seeking asylum. After helping them during the battle, he could never return to his people. They saw him as a traitor. "May I sit?" he asked. Do-hyun gestured. Hyunwoo sat carefully. "I spoke with my people today. They refuse the peace offers. They say humanity must be controlled or destroyed. They say I am contaminated by human madness." "What do you say?" Yuna asked. "I say," Hyunwoo paused, searching for words. "I say maybe madness is not always bad. Maybe dreaming of better things is the only sane response to a cruel galaxy. I have watched humans for 6 months. I have seen you rebuild. I have seen enemies become friends. I have seen people who had nothing share what little they have. And I understand now what I should have understood centuries ago. Humanity is not dangerous because they are strong. They are dangerous because they make others want to be better." Do-hyun felt tears in his eyes. This was what Sohee had died for, not just human freedom, but the chance to change the galaxy itself. Later, Do-hyun visited the network chamber. It was dark now. The great machine was silent, but in the center a statue stood, Sohee carved from white stone. Her face was peaceful. Her hands reached forward as if offering something. Jiwoo was there too, placing flowers at the statue's base. "I miss her," Jiwoo said quietly. "I only knew her for hours, but I miss her." "She knew you would," Do-hyun said. "That is why she left us, Daehyun." As if summoned, the AI's hologram appeared. "You called?" No, Do-hyun said. But we are glad you are here. Dae-hyun smiled. It was Sohee's smile. She had programmed part of herself into him. I have news. The deep space sensors detected something. Signals from beyond the galaxy. Very faint, very old, but human. What? Jiwoo stepped forward. That is impossible. I thought so too, Dae-hyun said. But the signals are real. It seems Admiral Kyung-hee prepared even deeper contingencies. There may be other stations. Other time capsules. Humanity's backup plans had backup plans. Do-hyun laughed. He could not help it. Of course they did. We are humans. We never put all our hopes in one place. That night, Do-hyun could not sleep. He walked to the observation deck again. New Earth glowed below. Beyond it, the stars stretched forever. Somewhere in that darkness, more humans might be waiting. More secrets. More hope. You cannot sleep either? He turned. A young woman stood there. She wore the uniform of the Renaissance Corps. Her name tag said Haeun. Too much to think about, Do-hyun said. I heard you speak to the council, Haeun said. About being better. About not seeking revenge. My parents died in the camps. Worked to death building collective ships. I should hate them. Sometimes I do. But then I remember what you said. We fought to be better, not to become them. It is hard, Do-hyun admitted. It is, Haeun agreed. But it is worth it. Because if we lose our humanity in victory, then they win anyway. Even in defeat, they win. She looked at the planet below. My children will grow up down there. On a free world. They will never know chains. They will never know fear. That is because of you, because of your sister, because of Sohee and Taeyang and everyone who refused to surrender. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you. All of us. Every human who chose hope. After she left, Do-hyun stood alone with his thoughts. 6 months ago, he was a scavenger, stealing scraps to survive. Now he led fleets, made decisions that affected billions. It was terrifying, but he was not alone. Jiwoo was here. Minho and Yuna, Hyun-woo trying to build bridges, Dae-hyun, keeping Sohee's memory alive, and millions of humans all working together, all refusing to give up. The next morning, Do-hyun stood before a crowd. 10,000 people gathered in the station's main plaza. Human and alien, former slaves and former masters, all trying to build something new. 6 months ago we won our freedom, Do-hyun said. His voice carried across the plaza and was broadcast to every human world. But freedom is not the end. It is the beginning. Now we must decide what kind of people we will be, what kind of galaxy we will build. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Some want revenge. Some want isolation. Some want to conquer as we were conquered. I understand those feelings. I have felt them too, but I remember Sohee's sacrifice. I remember Taeyang's lessons. I remember Admiral Kyung-hee's dream, and I know what we must do. We must be better. Not better than the collective, that is easy. Better than our own fears. Better than our own pain. We must show the galaxy that humanity is not defined by what was done to us, but by what we choose to do now. The prophecy spoke of one comeback. It was always you, not me. Not one leader, not one world. All of us, every human, every person who chooses hope over hate, forgiveness over revenge. Tomorrow over yesterday, he looked across the crowd, saw faces of every color, every age. Former slaves looking at former masters, former enemies standing together. This is our comeback, Do-hyun said, not with weapons or conquest. With compassion, with wisdom, with the stubborn belief that tomorrow can be better than today. That is what makes us human. That is what they could never take from us. And that is what will make our comeback eternal. The crowd was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping, then another. Then everyone, humans and aliens together, applauding not just Do-hyun's words, but the choice those words represented later. Jiwoo found him on the observation deck again. You are always here now. I like the view, Do-hyun said. You like thinking about her, Jiwoo corrected. About Sohee. Do-hyun nodded. She waited 500 years. She gave up everything. Sometimes I wonder if we are worthy of that sacrifice. We make ourselves worthy, Jiwoo said. Every day, every choice. That is what she wanted. Not perfection, just the honest,